we're around it all of the time.
Right before they start flowering.
Example, the real estate industry is exploding.
Be prepared, because everybody and their brother is coming too.
But here, it's funny to see people from other states come in, and their eyes just get like saucers.
This one's fairly far along.
Everybody was coming from everywhere because it was legal.
Hundreds of countries, every state in the U.S., picking a destination to go experience
They need to know their state laws. Every state varies, and they change all the time.
There's thousands of different things that can affect a grow operation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they got a little bit.
My name is David Madalena. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of the Hemp Connoisseur magazine here in Colorado. We've been voted the #1 cannabis publication by the industry here for 2 years running, and we've been covering the industry for over 4 years now.
Now, by covering the industry, which parts do you cover, or is it just everything?
Pretty much everything. When I say cannabis too, I mean we cover the cannabis industry. So unlike a lot of the other marijuana publications, we focus on both hemp and marijuana as a subject matter. We designed the magazine. We wanted it to be a coffee table magazine, something that a grown adult would have in their coffee table. When guests came over, didn't matter who they were, they wouldn't hide it. And so we wanted it to be that kind of quality. And so we ask ourselves that when advertisers submit to us, like, well, is this something that you would want to use to show your grandmother all the benefits of marijuana?
And I think in my generation, your generation growing up, when you first go towards, okay, I'm going to try smoking pot, you don't already even have it in your head that maybe it's medicinal, maybe it's all this. When was that shift for you over to, wow, this is a medicine and not the, hey, let's get high?
It's funny. The first time I realized that it had medicinal benefits was when I was in college. Where I lived in college, I went to school for theater at Syracuse University. We kind of were off campus, and my house in my junior year was kind of on the way to the theater department. And I had the window right in the front porch, so people could walk up to onto our porch and knock on my window. And I always had cannabis by this point, and so everybody knew this. And so it would never fail, like once a month, a couple of girls from my class would knock on my window on the way down, and they'd be like, my cramps are really bothering me this month. You just have some, I need some on my way to class. Because they were going to go dancing and they're cramping. I mean, and I was just like, God, I had no idea it did anything like that. And so I started learning, oh wait, so it helps for that. Then I found out it helped for nausea. I started just anecdotal evidence started coming out, and headaches, oh wow, it helped for this. It just, random things started showing up. And of course there were more minor ailments. Oh, my shoulder is hurting, or anything like that. I started recognizing it as a good anti-inflammatory, again, anecdotally. I didn't realize the true medicinal benefits until I heard about Rick Simpson's oil. Baby got 10, 15 years ago.
It's funny, I think it was Chong who said, the cat's already out of the bag. You can't put it back in the bag.
No,
now.
You can't. It's really, I like that analogy. I always say that the train has already left the station. It's picked up steam. You're not slowing that down.
No. How do you use cannabis, whether recreationally or medicinally?
So I use it both ways. I use it on the medicinal side. I just have, from athletics, I have chronic pain in my shoulders and my knees. And so it helps me get through the day there. If I don't have cannabis within a 3-day period of time, I can't sleep because my joints start hurting me so much I can't sleep. On the recreational side, really, it's kind of blurs the lines for me because I use it on a regular basis, but I don't use it usually during the daytime until maybe around 4:20 sometimes if I'm around some people. But really it's usually at night, even after my daughter goes to bed, after I put her down, that's when it's like, okay, now's the time I can consume, or on the weekends. Well, this is a Smoke Studios. This is where we operate our entire media company. So while I said at the beginning I'm founder of the Hemp Connoisseur, I've partnered with a gentleman named Dave Kowalski who owns Cannabis Network Radio, which is also SiriusXM420.com, streams live there. So we partnered up to create an overall parent company called Cannabis Media Source. Cannabis Media Source, our goal is to be the #1 media source for the cannabis industry on the multimedia platform. So we'll have radio now, we have print, and we're launching a national version of the magazine in mid-October of this year. And November 1st is when it'll hit the streets. But Smoke Studios is our home, and this is actually Dave's residence. So you're in a really cool, pimped out living room. His bedroom is in the basement of this building, but we actually can rent this space out for private parties where people can consume, because this is considered a private residence.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. This is actually, I would consider, the nicest cannabis club in the Denver metro area.
From my experience, I think so too. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dave.
You know, I guess I started in 2009 in the beginning of cannabis industry in Colorado. Started Elevated Medical. We were one of the first dispensaries in 5 Points, and we grew that to multiple grow facilities and grew that to a business that was making over $1 million a year in gross sales.
Wow.
I sold that in late 2011 and realized that there was a huge lack of technology in the industry. So my partner Ken Tapp and I started a consulting company, a marketing company, and an online technology company comprised of websites from weedlife.com and weedcircles.com, both cannabis social networks, to mapping websites, to job websites, really anything that you could think of to try and help this industry slingshot forward in the digital space. Yeah.
And what is your history? Where are you coming from?
You know, in 2008, I graduated with a degree in finance, so I definitely come back from a very finance analytical standpoint.
Right.
I've ran everything from car dealerships to dispensaries to now this. And, you know, I think that looking at this industry, there's a huge lack of technology and resources for people to do anything from the accounting that they need to the seed to sale tracking to everything.
When you got into this space, did the people that graduated with you look at you and think, what is he doing?
Sure. Family, friends, everyone, I think we're looking at it, and they had never heard of a dispensary in 2009. No, it was a 20-minute conversation to convince someone that maybe it was legal on a local level.
Right.
And now, slingshot 6 years forward, everyone assumes that it's a well-known practice. Everyone's doing something in cannabis. It doesn't matter if you're a construction company, a marketing company. Everyone has some play, and they're making some revenue in this industry.
What type of traction have you gotten, and with which websites?
The biggest ones that we're finding is our social media. People are wanting to go online, communicate with each other, anything from showing pictures to getting information. And the information is the home grower trying to figure out how to grow. It's the soccer mom trying to figure out how much to smoke or what kind of edible to take, whether recreational or for medical use. And so there's such a lack of information. There's such a lack of communication that these social profiles are exploding. 2008, it was a really difficult time in the economy. I think everyone was trying to figure out how to figure out what the next step is, what they were trying to do. And for me, a good friend of mine came up and said, you should start a dispensary. And I kind of laughed and said, what is that? And he said, it's a retail store where you sell cannabis. And I thought, wow, that has to make sense, you know? So I just jumped into it. I actually maxed out a credit card and opened a dispensary. And literally grew it from the ground up, from nothing to a very successful organization. So it was a huge success in the end.
Now, let's say someone's in California or Nevada or somewhere that might be going recreational, and they're interested in getting involved. And you know, regardless of their pre-qualifying attributes or their history, you know, maybe they're very good at finance, or maybe business administration. What type of advice would you give them, you know, if they're considering stepping into this now?
You know, I think the biggest thing is that it almost doesn't matter what you're doing. You can do something for the cannabis industry with exactly that skill set. So you don't need to own a dispensary. You don't need to figure out how to go start growing cannabis. Figure out what you do. If you're a construction company, figure out how to start doing construction in the industry. If you're a marketing company, if you're an attorney, if you're a doctor's office, start doing medical scripts. We're really just trying to be the infrastructure behind the cannabis industry. We're trying to give a platform for everyone to come and find what they need and communicate. Whether you're looking for a job and you go to weedjobs.com or social information or news, we have mapping websites to figure out where the closest dispensary is, or if you have a favorite edible brand, you can go there and figure out what dispensaries near you have that brand. There's coupon sites. There's really everything for every demographic. So our goal is really just to try and make as many associations as we can and really just try and help propel this industry to where it should be.
So you're in this for the long run.
I think we are.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Dawn. A lot of people in the industry know me as Dawn Marie. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Sales of Colorado High Life Tours. We have been in business since 2013. Before I was involved in the cannabis industry, I was doing a lot of business and property management. So that's my background.
When you made that switch over, what did the people around you think?
There were people I think that still can't grasp that. Definitely people that aren't in Colorado, for sure. It's just something that it's going to take time for everybody to kind of realize, especially when you're not around it all of the time.
Yeah.
Here in Colorado, this is life. You know, we're around it all of the time.
Right.
So when people, make mention of it like it's a big deal, it's hard for me to go back to that mindset. But we do need to be there because there's tons of states that are still facing that right now.
And
So.
are you getting the support from family and close friends?
Family, not so much.
Yeah.
I came from a conservative religious family back in Nebraska. So it's definitely one that they struggle with for sure.
Yeah.
And it's okay. I mean, it is what it is. And I know I'm a patient, so it's something that I require. And a lot of us here in this industry, here in Colorado, are patients. So we understand the inside of kind of what it really means and how important this plant is. I know it takes time for people to learn and accept and see the facts. Facts and research are still coming out. So.
Personally, I smoked cannabis long before I thought of it as medicinal or knew that it was medicinal for me. What about you, and when was that point when you changed over from I like marijuana to, wow, this is medicine for me?
I started occasionally smoking about when I was 16. It wasn't, very often, every so often. And it was probably around the age of 19, 20 when I realized that it had medicinal properties. I had started taking on a lot more responsibilities. I was managing some lofts downtown. I ended up being in an abusive relationship, and I ended up getting really sick. And I've actually been fighting it ever since. I have been diagnosed with severe irritable bowel syndrome. And it was so bad that it would send me to emergency rooms all the time. I would be puking, I was dehydrated, I couldn't keep anything down. And that was when I realized that consuming cannabis, smoking it, that helped me so much. I was able to finally, drink and keep out of the emergency rooms. That's huge. And going into the emergency rooms was another whole problem, because if I did end up telling them that I smoke weed, they blamed it on that. They said that's why I was in there. That's why I was sick.
So what are the tours like? How does that start? Where does it go? What do people do along the way?
We have different tours. We have public tours that will hit basic stuff, the head shops, cannabis clubs, a few of the dispensaries, and a grow. So they get to kind of experience all of that, which is awesome. I mean, honestly, that is one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life, because everybody loves it. They are so excited. And then we have the private tours, and those can be all-day tours. We can go up into the mountains. We have tours that'll start here in Denver and then go down to the Springs and hit more of the cannabis clubs that are down there, as well as like Garden of the Gods and some of the stuff that's down there. So we offer a huge variety. There are other tours companies that are out there as well, but we really try to cater to the clients. So that's one of the specialties.
Speaking of the clients, do you find the public tours are more people on vacation for recreation, and then the privates are more investors and people interested?
Absolutely.
You
hit it on the nose.
I guess it's good to have that separation.
And I mean, there are people like they'll come in and do like the private tours that are couples or couples that are really wanting to just love the day and see Denver, see Colorado, and just be able to consume cannabis wherever they are. That's a huge thing in Denver right now. We are not allowed to publicly consume. There are only 2-3 clubs here in Denver right now, and they're actually not in the city limits of Denver. There are none that are allowing any consumption of cannabis at all. And you can't smoke on the streets, you can't smoke in the parks, you know, none of that. The only place you can really smoke or consume is your living place.
Right.
And if you rent, your landlord management may say,
Right.
nope.
And no smoking means no smoking.
So, right. So it's a huge issue, and they are now just getting that on the bill to be voted this year, actually, to have it be consumed in bars. So that's a huge step. But right now, I mean, people come to visit, tourists can buy, but where are they supposed to consume?
Right.
It's a big problem.
When you use cannabis, what's your favorite way to use it? Is it edible or dabs, concentrates?
I would say concentrates typically. I'll go back and forth between concentrates and flour. But also edibles and like RSO pills or Phoenix tears that come super concentrated, especially when I'm having really bad days.
Yeah. Now that's the Rick
definitely
Simpson
works.
oil, the
Right.
RSO.
Yes.
If someone were to come here on vacation or just to visit and wanted to try RSO, you think if they tried it for 1 week, they would have any type of noticeable effect?
As like if they had like a disease or something they're trying to treat,
something that maybe
I think that they would start to notice it. I mean, I think when you initially start taking something that is higher concentrated, your body has got to get used to it. So you're probably it's going to be tired at first because it's trying to adjust. But I think absolutely you'll start noticing that you're feeling better. That's just how cannabis works. It's got that short-term relief as well as if you keep consuming, it's going to help in the long run.
Right. It stays in your body for 30 days and just keeps
At
stacking
least.
and growing more powerful. Yeah.
Yep. Like I said, we're pioneers, so there's always going to be a fight to get where we want to be.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Believe me that cannabis is going to be one of the top topics with candidates. It's ultimately going to be related to the recreational consumer.
Yeah.
There's obviously a big medical benefit to this industry, huge. And if we just tap into that 10, 20 years from now, after they get all the mapping and the genome mapping and be able to synthetically create things that will help on the medical side. In the meantime, you've got this consumer base that literally could be as many as 150 million ultimate users in the United States. But sure, the industry goes on, and it goes on in markets that aren't legal yet.
Yeah.
So I think on the topic of getting the country and specifically politicians to get on board with this, it has to happen. And for those that don't want it to happen because of their moral or ethical belief system, which is great, that's fine, we need those. My challenge to them is to look at things that are legalized, that are equal, that have an equal downside or a much greater downside to either demographics in society or to the economy itself. You've got to go and find out what the rules and the regulations are. We take a call from an investment firm almost on a daily basis, or a technology company looking for us to invest in them almost on a daily basis. And it takes about 2 minutes of a phone call for me to find out whether they've done any research, because they'll approach me with, we're planning on doing this, or we've already started doing that, and immediately it can't be done.
Yeah.
Sorry, the rules and regulations prevent you from being able to do that. Or it can be done, but it just changed their revenue model to something that's not sustainable or even attractive to an investment capital firm. So do your research, find out what the rules and regulations are in the marketplace that you're going into. If you're going to go into a national or even an international platform like we've done online, and with our software that can be applied to brand new markets as soon as they get launched, then make certain that your software or your online system is flexible enough to be able to do certain things from one marketplace to the next, because the rules and regulations are different, and they may likely always be different, even if it's federally governed.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Sure. My pleasure.
I'm Chastity Osborne, and I'm a massage therapist. I have been for 18 years, but I'm also a huge marijuana connoisseur and supporter of the cause.
And I'm Dale Dyke, Chastity's husband, and I'm just a welder. And I've been an enthusiast about growing marijuana for a very long time.
Cool. And how long have you been involved in the industry here in Denver?
Well, just since they kind of made everything okay.
Yeah. Since that time, when did you start growing for yourself? Or right about that time.
Sure, there you go.
Yeah, cool. And why did you choose to grow it yourself rather than go somewhere to just buy it?
Well, just knowing what went into it.
Yeah.
You know, do you want fast food or do you want gourmet?
Cool. And so you've got 6 plants back there right now.
Right. You know, I guess as a citizen of Colorado, we're allowed 6 plants each, but it's designated as 6 in veg and 6 in bud, and that's kind of presuming that everybody's going to be growing indoors.
Right.
But we wanted to do an outdoor crop, and we didn't want to cross any lines, and so not knowing how the distinction really affects an outdoor situation, we decided we'll just take 3 each and put them together and know that we're not, you know, challenging or pushing any boundaries.
Have your neighbors smelled it over the fence?
All of our neighbors have smelt it. They've all seen it.
Yeah.
They're not curious about it anymore.
Right.
But they
We
used
put
to
up the greenhouse, and it's kind of a light-duty greenhouse, so I'm a welder. I brought out tube steel, and I welded in a subframe of tube steel inside of it and joined those two, and then I went out and got heavy gauge wire. It's actually concrete mesh. And I caged the whole thing in, so it's
You
like
could put a tiger in
it's
there.
a tiger cage, man.
And they couldn't get out.
It's very secure, you know. And then I have the steel door with a deadbolt, and so we're very secure.
It's really amazing how many people judge you.
Yeah.
I lost about 25% of my clientele.
Wow.
So
She did take a hit
yeah,
when she
and thank God I
came
have
out
a
in
great
the marijuana
reputation
community.
and
We
I
were-
make plenty of money, so it's okay to lose those. But I was judged harshly, and my school where I taught, they pretty much asked that I not participate. But unfortunately, there's a really negative stigma with marijuana that needs to disappear.
Yeah.
It's an amazing plant. It's medicinal. It's given by God. We deserve it, and it's amazing.
We'll
So-
see, everything kind of went big here in Colorado under the current administration. Obama came in and made it plain and clear that there wasn't going to be federal interaction within our state. I don't know how the other states really felt about it at the time, but we basically got the green light and put the pedal to the metal, man. And so things happened pretty quick there for a little while, but people kind of forget that we really got our red card program under the Bush administration, and they were kind of scary years there. You know, we were in the system, and we wondered if we would get our door kicked in. You know, and some people did, but we never did. We just got lucky, I guess. I don't know. When the other states look at us, and people living in the other states look at us, I think they're a little shocked, and there's a little bit of culture adjustment.
Yes, that's
but the
what it
thing
is.
is it's been going on so long here that we're very comfortable and very used to things in a way that, you know, it once it finally did go recreational legal, we were all like, God, it's about time, man. This frickin' took forever, you know? What the hell's wrong with
Is this
people?
about the time you started the marijuana-related or friendly bed and breakfast?
We started the same day that they went recreational.
Oh, wow.
We opened
January
our doors.
1.
Yeah. We were ready, and we were trying to get in on the big rush. And
Yeah.
We
Who
did a
was the
pre-launch
first person
party
that
in
showed
November.
up?
So actually, an attorney.
Oh, really? Yeah. Doing research or just
No,
getting
he
away?
was a connoisseur.
Oh,
And
wow.
That's one thing I have to say.
Yeah, it was mostly upper crust.
Upper crust
Oh, absolutely.
people, that want a place that's comfortable, that's discreet, and they can enjoy.
And we were chauffeur driving everybody around and just keeping people out of trouble.
That's right.
And so when we got jacked with by the city, I went after them hard. I was like, look, we are at the absolute forefront of public safety in the
first.
marijuana community in Colorado. You cannot find anybody doing more than what we are. So how dare you try to shut us down? And you know,
Zoning and recreational.
that played for about 5 minutes. You know, it wasn't. It caught their attention, but they got right past it.
To someone who's in, let's say, California or Nevada, or somewhere where legalization is probable in the next year and a half, would you provide any advice for whether it be the tours, the bed and breakfast, or growing for yourself?
All of it.
Yeah.
Get on board.
Yeah, get on board.
Choo.
Hit it hard. Hit it fast.
Yeah.
Be the first to market. Be
the best.
enthusiastic.
Yeah.
You know, be real and be sincere.
Are there any standout companies or people here in the Denver area that are worth mentioning or checking out?
Well, Larissa Bolivar.
Okay.
We are very pro.
She is the head of the Marijuana Consumers Cannabis
Yeah.
Coalition.
I'm a board member on the Cannabis Consumers Coalition, and she runs it. So we think she's amazing.
And she's the real deal in the marijuana community because she's there on the floor of the legislature.
Yes,
speaking
she's
all the
fighting for
time.
all of us every
Everybody
day.
in state government knows who she is. She's really true to the cause. Her heart's in the right place. And so we'll always give her a big kudos and a big plug.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they got a little bit. And like I say, they're just barely starting to flower. And there's 3 in this line. First one, Sour Crypt. This middle one, something called Love Boat. The big one on the end is a Sour Kush. I guess it's probably going to work out pretty good.
This, timing-wise, worked out good for me, and it was an opportunity for me to start another business and go in to a venture that I thought would be successful, and it was. And so for me, I kind of lucked out timing-wise and was able to start something at the right time. And then it became more about all the people that are involved. And now there's around 100 people working for the company, and there's a lot more of the company's become a living thing.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it than just having a successful business or making money.
So you don't just have people put dirt over here, do they?
No, it's not like that anymore, not at all.
There's a fabric and a community built within the company.
Yeah, there really is, and it's become tighter and tighter every challenge we get through, and every milestone that we pass in this business, and the industry itself has really come a long way over the last few years too.
Yeah.
So
you've been doing this in this building for, you say, since 2009?
yeah, so right around 6 years now at this location, and this was our first commercial location, and it was a very small operation when we started, and we've been able to expand it into what you got to see today, and it's much bigger now than when we started. This is larger now than I ever imagined it could have got when we took the building over.
What were you thinking when you walked into the building for the first time? You looked around, you thought, is this the right place for me? Or
well, 6 years ago, warehouse space was really easy to get, and it was very cheap in Denver. This was really before the rush, and I had my pick of a lot of different places in town, and this one made sense from a financial standpoint, and a location standpoint, and an availability standpoint. So we took a hold of it. It was larger than I ever thought we would need for the industry, and within 2 years it was completely built out, and we were on to additional warehouses. So
now, did you purchase the building, or you rented from a landlord? And if so, what did they say?
Both. I rented from a landlord, and then I ended up purchasing it from that landlord later down the road. And we were fully disclosed everything that we had intended to do ahead of time, and that was one of the challenges in the
and that was medical only. I mean, that was 2009, so they must have at least had a little bit of the, like, oh my goodness.
The particular landlord that we had here didn't have, there was, I don't think, much shock value for that person, but they were willing to try it and to get rent coming in. I think that when you look at the amount of square footage that was vacant in this town at that time, I think that almost any tenancy made sense to a landlord. So
and I saw something that said warehouse space used to sit open for up to 3 years before it got rented again, and now in Denver it's close to 3 months or less.
I would be surprised if a good warehouse site sat open for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's that good part.
It goes away fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you started off here, were you concealing the smell at all, or the odor, or did you have any problems with neighbors?
Very much so. We didn't ever have problems with neighbors here. Ironically, most of the neighbors do the same thing that we do. So that was less of an issue.
Yeah.
And we're in a very industrial part of Denver where even though we did have some smell protection or some exhaust filtering going on, we were not expressly trying to keep what we were doing a secret.
There's only so much charcoal in the world.
Right, and we were a very small operation when we started too, so it was a lot easier to attempt to conceal what we were doing. But again, we were starting a business, and so we, in a lot of aspects, were attempting to be known, which is different from what the industry had seen prior to that. So it really worked out well to have that space, and again, it expanded faster than we ever could have predicted it would. And the price of real estate and the availability of real estate, just those two things went crazy over the subsequent 2 or 3 years.
Now, we walked through your packaging room, and it looks like you've got your brand, from the time you walk in the door till the time it goes out, and all the way over to the customers. They're looking at your brand all the way through. When did that become such a visible thing, or did you start that from the very beginning?
We started that when the recreational market became available, and a lot of the rules changed as far as the way we were allowed to distribute product as a wholesaler from that point. So prior to the recreational outlets, we had medical only, where those businesses were designed to be vertically integrated. The grow was set up to produce at least 70% of what product was being sold through the retail. And in the recreational environment, that rule didn't carry through. So we were, as a wholesaler, then allowed to distribute our product to as many dispensaries as we could facilitate that distribution to. So the other change is that some of the recreational dispensaries that came online, they are standalone, so they are not required to have the grow that a medical one would have been required to have. So they need that distribution chain, that supply chain, and I wanted to be one of the first people into that market, and we worked on the branding and packaging of our product all the way from day one with the recreational change.
Have you always been in the cannabis industry?
Well, since 2009, I came from contracting and real estate background. So prior to 2009, I did contracting and electrical, and I've been a master electrician since 2000 in Colorado.
That must have helped.
It was a tremendous help, and so was my experience in real estate.
When you switched over from real estate and electric, what did people around you say? What did your family say? What did your friends say?
Well, around 2008, there was a big downturn in those markets. Real estate was in the worst downturn in 20 years, and construction was right behind that. So I think that people were grabbing for anything to do. And my first work into the industry was as an electrician.
Of course.
So I started working for other operations, and I saw how they were doing things, and I said, well, I think I can put something together here that works. And as far as friends and family, I had a lot of support around me, but there was also a lot of hesitation or reticence from friends and family to participate themselves, and I don't have any issues with that. It's a strange business to be in, and it's a stressful business to be in.
Do you think they were worried more about the legality or just how they feel about the business itself?
I don't know. I think it takes a certain personality to probably even attempt this, and not everyone has that willingness to kind of step off the blind curb and not really know how far the step down is. And this has been a lot of unknowns over the last 6 years that you've had to build a business with and try to facilitate. It's been a challenge, to say the least. It's been me as a owner and proprietor of the business, standalone from the beginning. So I had a few employees, and that just grew into a dozen, and then a couple dozen, and more.
So if let's say an electrician in Nevada thinks, oh well, I should try this, I should get involved. Do you think it's a risk that someone should take? I mean, if they're in an area where it's becoming recreational and there's that ability, do you feel like your story is an inspiration to people who
an
could do this?
inspiration? I'm not sure I would look at it like that at this point. I think that with the market shaping up how it is, you might do just as good as an electrician.
In the space, yeah.
That's right, and building the spaces for the people that are going to occupy it.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't really have that option at that time. There were not people building these things
Not
like
as
crazy.
fast as it is now.
And if I had the opportunities available to me that everyone had now in a new state that were coming online, I may approach it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We get stories all the time from medicinal reasons of how it's helped people, how it's helped children, older people with cancer, people with other chronic ailments.
Right.
It's just the stories just pour in all the time, and I mean, we hear about it continuously.
And all of your plants here, where do they end up going? Do they go as flowers? Do they go as extracts? A combination? Infused
combination.
products?
Sure.
Yeah.
We work with over 100 different wholesale clients, and some of them are my retail stores. A number of them are other additional retail stores. We work in a white label capacity in addition to the branded capacity that I showed you. And then we sell to MIPS operations also. So the infused products companies will use our trimmings, or they'll use sometimes bud or smaller discarded flower for concentrate extract and food production and all the edible and concentrates and vaporizers and tinctures and topicals and all of it.
Well, if you've got any tips for anybody looking to get into the industry or the space?
I think one of the tips I would use is just be very, very thoughtful in your plan and try to plan your steps from start to finish and set goals, and along the way do your best to achieve the goals. And if you're not able to, I think it's really good to reevaluate what you're doing in this business a lot. There's a lot of variables that can really alter a grow and alter the outcome of a grow, from climate to pests to regulatory issues to calendar issues or nutrients. There's thousands of different things that can affect a grow operation. So the better you can plan and the more things that you can make sure are under your control, the better. So don't go into it just thinking it's easy.
Cool. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
You bet, David. My pleasure.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people I've spoken to, they said, although there's a lot of competition here in Denver, you wouldn't know it because of how friendly everyone is within the cannabis community. Have you found that people have been very helpful in sharing the information and talking about it?
Very much so. There are a lot of great people out there. And let's face it, you smoke a little weed and you're going to be a lot more mellow. So the stress-like attitudes that go with a regular business, I used to sell furniture to the government. Not happening with us in the pot industry. So yeah, I think everybody's very friendly in this.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you have a product that can obviously ship to anywhere in the country. It's not dependent on THC legality. Have you gotten much traction outside of Colorado?
As a matter of fact, we've gotten a lot more traction outside of Colorado, simply because that same problem exists for me. There are literally thousands of people trying to sell either glass or vape or edibles or something to these owners of these businesses, and they're being inundated and they're putting up some walls on it.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that means that good or bad, the wall is still there. So we're not getting in to see them. But the people out of state, California, Florida, even Canada, we're doing very well up there.
Yeah.
And it's because of that.
Now, how did you go from furniture sales to the government to, weed wipes, bowl cleaners?
Well, that's kind of an unusual type of thing. I actually, it was a family business for government contract sales, and I was fed up with that. But having gone into smoking again for the first time in many years, it was just a natural step to come up with something better. And better is the way to go, especially natural.
Now, we met through LinkedIn, which makes me wonder, have some of your old government contacts seen your new position at Weed Wipes, and what type of reaction are you getting?
Well, the ones that I knew as friends all knew about it before I left, but there are a couple of people out there. I just reconnected with a guy from the VA, and he was kind of shocked because I was the straight-laced tie kind of guy.
What do you think about the perceptions of going from a straight-laced kind of guy to being all right with being within the cannabis community? People's perceptions of that.
Well, that's kind of one of those things that actually seems to be an age type of deal. People my age still have the stigma about, oh, it's pot, it's illegal. Right. Well, nowadays the younger generations are realizing, well, that's pot, it's a good thing. Right. So I think in the years that go by, we're going to see people falling off of the same old attitude of, oh my God, you can't smoke that, it's bad, it's devil weed. Well, it's not, and we know it, but you're not going to change somebody's mind overnight.
From watching the legality of cannabis go from illegal to medical to recreational here in Denver, what type of advice would you have to someone who's interested in working in the industry, but is in a state where it's coming? Let's say legalization is coming in 2016, like Arizona, Nevada, California, they're all considering it.
They are all considering it, and I think it would behoove anyone who's looking to have that to get in contact with the authorities that be and push for the legality of it. It makes sense for everybody, and I'm sure the politicians are looking at the excess taxes that Colorado is somehow going to give back to me because there's been so much pot bought and there's been so much revenue collected.
Yeah. What has it been like to see tourism? Not for the first time. It's not the first time Denver's had tourism, but man, it's got to be a huge difference.
Well, and we're actually seeing companies springing up that are everywhere from, hey, we'll take you on a little 3-hour tour of Denver, not a Gilligan's Island tour, something else, all the way up to these major kinds of vacation, pot-centric vacations that they're doing the whole hotel, and they're setting it up to where, yes, even though you can't smoke in the hotel, they've got a smoking area for you. They've got limos with smoking. They've got all the different stuff. And nowadays, places like iBake down in Englewood, at Littleton area, you can show up there and smoke there as well, even though you're not part of the state and it's illegal to smoke outside.
Yeah. So now, being a pot smoker, and have you seen a difference or experienced a difference in just the community around pot smoking? Because it's become more acceptable, so people can do it outside of their house and talk about it more openly with people they might not have known. Have you seen more of a coming together of community in that sense? I
think so. As a matter of fact, last night there was a whole coming together of that kind of community. At R.A. Love, she's I forget the name, but she's an event planner and very good. She held an event that brought everyone together. As a matter of fact, tomorrow night, Weed Wipes Wednesday is one of our get-togethers. It's a potluck. Okay, bring a little to share, and we had, last time there was like 8 different varieties of pot. Come up, try whatever you want. We provide food, drinks, the whole route, and taxi cabs if you need it.
Cool. Yeah. And where's your favorite collective or grow operation?
Right now, I am in love with Kind Love.
Kind Love.
Yes, it's over on Colorado Boulevard, Alameda kind of area. And by far, of all the ones that I've smoked, I tend to do they have a Golden Goat that is a very uplifting type of thing. Yeah. And I get a lot of work done, and I'm very focused on that particular product. I don't know if that happens for everybody because everyone's physiology is different.
Yeah, some people watching might be surprised that anybody smoking pot is interested in having an uplifting, hard-working type of cannabis.
Oh, yeah. It seems unusual.
Right.
My name is Matthew Ellis. I own Extraction Tech Solutions. We build large-scale hydrocarbon extraction equipment.
Wow, who uses those?
Most producers and processors. for the medical marijuana industry and also recreational industry.
How does one become an expert on the technology that we're looking at here behind us?
It's been a long road actually.
Yeah.
It's taken some time. I started in the CO2 world, and then realized that that nobody's creating large scale equipment. So we got into doing this, and we've been doing it for about 4 years, and just listen to our customers' feedback and making sure we can provide a safe equipment for our customers to use.
What were some of those things they said in the beginning to get you to the place that you are now?
They wanted to do higher capacity and faster turnaround time. And so we can process 2 pounds of material in about 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, wow.
So that way you could basically large-scale production in a short amount of time.
And one of the things I saw in here was closed loop and natural. What does that mean?
So the system itself is closed loop, means that as the gas injects in, we all pull it back into a tank, so you're not really exposed to the solvent at all. So that way there's no issues for fire or such. Hydrocarbons are a natural solvent. They're low volatility, so that makes it, or high volatility, which makes it be able to retrieve it from the material. So it's there's should be no residual solvents in the extract. The final product itself is more of a dry product. It's very rich in terpenes without removing the stuff that tastes good.
How long have you been in cannabis business in general?
I've been in cannabis business for about 6 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got into this. I started a marijuana infused products company here in Colorado. I did that for about 1.5 years. Partnership kind of took a turn, and then worked with a friend of mine doing CO2 extractors, and then got into this.
What did you do before that? Before 6 years ago?
I did communications work, low voltage CCTV and stuff.
Oh, wow. When you made that switch over, what did the people say who you knew? What did family say or friends?
I didn't tell everybody in the very beginning,
Right,
but
right.
I mean, my family was supportive. Everybody, and my wife was supportive. We're just it's a new industry, and just trying to see what I can do and find what market or niche I could get into.
What's in the future for you?
We're in the process of building a larger piece of equipment. There's a lot of hemp farmers that want to be able to do process more. So this unit right here at 2 pounds, it gives us the ability to do strain specific, very easy. When you get into your 10-pound units, it's hard to do strain specific because 10 pounds is a lot to have one strain. But we're starting to develop them for the hemp farmers, doing CBD growing and hemp growing and such. So that is our next goal, is for a larger unit.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
Well, Joe, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Where are we, and what is it that you do here?
So you are at Dixie Brands and Dixie Elixir's headquarters, and we are a couple of things. One, Dixie Brands as a parent company has 3 brands, Dixie Elixir's and Edibles, Therabis, and Acesso, which we just announced this week, the latter 2. Here in this facility, though, you also have our Colorado affiliate that produces Dixie Elixir's and Edibles products for the entire state of Colorado.
Oh, wow. So all of the extractions are done here?
All the extractions are done here, all of the formulation, all of the product manufacturing, packaging, and the distribution out of this facility for the state.
What exactly are you extracting from, and where does it come from?
So we are in this facility with our waters technology. We are using CO2 extraction, and we take trim, and we then use a combination of temperature and pressure settings to use CO2 that acts as a solvent, becomes a liquid, strips the oil out of the plant material, and then we can fractionate. Actually, we can separate out certain cannabinoids. We are obviously, in this case, looking for THC primarily, that we can then infuse into our products so that we dose those products appropriately.
Do you use your products?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which milligram is right for you?
I am a super low dose kind of a guy. Any more than 10 milligrams, and I don't enjoy it. It's not comfortable for me. But less than that is actually pretty enjoyable and relaxing. And something I talk about often is the fact that there is a whole market for people that can consume cannabis differently than I think the preconceived notion of consuming a lot, getting really stoned and high. The products don't have to be that way for people who don't want it to be. So my history with Dixie actually goes back several years. I was a partner with an ad agency here in Colorado, small to mid-sized agency, about 80 employees. And one day, young lady who worked for me came back from lunch and said, hey, I just had lunch with a friend of mine. He is starting up a pot soda company, and they wanted to know if we'd be interested in helping them with some brand work. And we were pretty traditional, older agency.
Right.
We've been around since the early 70s. And we had a number of conservative clients, but I thought, hey, this sounds great. It sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do it. And so we ended up creating the Dixie logo that's currently in use today,
Oh, wow.
as well as doing some other research and PR work for them. But that's how I met Dixie and Dixie's CEO, specifically Trip Kieber. And then we've maintained a relationship over the last several years.
And what we're looking at here is quite a number of products with different, kind of branding on each, like different feel.
Yep.
And in such a short amount of time, has it been a challenge, or do you see it as a faster growing business than another one you might have been involved in?
Faster growing, yes. Although the irony is that it's so fast growing, so fast paced, but yet it's still federally illegal. It's
Right.
we still have banking challenges every single day. There's a roadblock in our way, so it slows things down. So we often have this weird dichotomy of feeling like we're moving 100 miles an hour, but really, it still feels glacially slow when you look
Right.
at the overall big picture of the industry. That said, in terms of our product set and what that looks like from a speed perspective, we really do pride ourselves on developing what we call delivery systems, so new and innovative ways to consume cannabis via infused products. So we have a topicals line that includes a bath soak and a pain lotion and a pain salve. We have our chocolates, we have our tinctures, we have our one-to-one CBD THC product line called Synergy. So we have all of these different products, which really is what I believe is our competitive differentiator.
Yeah.
We are very similar to, if you were to look outside of cannabis, like a Procter & Gamble that has a number of really strong brands and product lines underneath the Procter & Gamble umbrella. Dixie Brands has all of these different products that we're creating because our tagline is the future of cannabis, and we believe that takes a number of different shapes and forms.
I believe it. In your Synergy line, where you have the same THC as CBD, are you bringing those in from different places, like maybe even different countries? Where does the CBD come from?
So yeah, we do actually. We do use hemp-derived CBD. So we do import that and from different suppliers, primarily because there's not a critical mass of CBD-rich plants here in the state to be able to extract from. It's not a very cost-effective methodology. So we do import that and then infuse it into the THC product.
Well, where do you see Dixie Elixirs in the next 5 years?
Dominating the world.
Yeah. Do you expect to be shipping internationally?
With THC products, probably not.
Right.
My hope is that within the next 5 years, there's at least some level of federal capitulation, so that whether that means interstate commerce or our ability to ship within the country, or whether it means at least states have the right officially to choose whether or not to allow for legal marijuana. I believe that will happen in the next 5 years, if not sooner, and I think a lot of pundits agree with that. Gay marriage rapidly came to a conclusion in the last year, and what led up to that, and now he sees a lot of parallels between that and marijuana legalization. So, 3 years ago, if you'd asked me, I would have said 10 years.
Right.
Last year, I would have said, at least 5. Now I'm saying it could be less than 5 years.
Marijuana has a better approval rating than any of our presidential candidates.
Given those candidates, that's probably not surprising. But,
Exactly. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
You bet. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just wait, I'm a trailblazer,
Yeah.
and you're going to hear about me for a long, long time.